This video is brought to you by friend of the channel Squarespace. Stick around to learn more about them, as well as a special offer they're making available through my channel. Gamers, hello and welcome to a slightly delayed edition of This Week in Video Games. We're late because the earth-shattering purchase of Activision Blizzard was such massive news that earlier this week I devoted an entire video to it, so if you missed that one, that link is in the description below. That news was so big that you might be forgiven for thinking that nothing else happened in the video games industry this week, but that is not the case. Lots of stuff happened. Like, for example, did you know that Italian politicians accidentally broadcast Final Fantasy VII hentai? No? Well, aren't you glad you tuned in this week? Let's get straight to the news. While Activision Blizzard soaks up the headlines, you gotta wonder how Bethesda's feeling right about now. A week ago, they were the crown jewel in Microsoft's acquisition catalog, and now Uncle Phil's all like, I don't want to play with you anymore. But Todd remains undeterred, undaunted, and this week we got the tiniest sliver of Starfield news when Bethesda showed off even more concept art for the game. This time for the port city of New Atlantis. There isn't a huge amount here, but it does give a good sense of where Bethesda's art team are parking this one, with high-tech cityscapes nestled in natural wooded settings, not unlike, say, Anthem. Let's hope Starfield lands a little better than that one did though. We also got a very small smidgen of Elder Scrolls 6 news. A job posting for Bethesda made clear the fact that Elder Scrolls 6 is currently in pre-production and will move into full production after Starfield has shipped. No surprises there, Bethesda have certainly hinted that in the past. Still, this confirmation does sting a little though, as it reminds us that we probably won't be playing Elder Scrolls 6 until around 2026. Ouch. Amidst all of the Elden Ring hype, you might have heard one story doing the rounds. Dark Souls PvPers can now invade you IRL. Here's the deal. This week, the Dark Souls community discovered a very nasty security vulnerability related to the netcode supporting most FromSoft titles. The vulnerability is one that allows for something called Remote Code Execution, or RCE. It basically lets hackers do whatever the hell they want on your computer, since they're essentially using it as a remote device with unrestricted access. They could steal your most personal files or start posting as you on social media. So yeah, that's a big deal. It's an especially big deal at the moment since Elden Ring is likely to be exposed to the same exploit, and since a few million people are going to be playing Elden Ring in just under a month, that's pretty concerning. Luckily, Bamco are on the case and have just disabled all network features across affected games and are working on a fix. Hopefully, it'll be right as rain in time for Elden Ring. God damn, I am so excited for that video game. You know what else I'm excited for? Pokemon Arceus. That's a lie. I'm not at all excited for that. Have you guys seen these visuals? The whole thing looks like that thing that happens when you first boot up a game and like the textures haven't loaded in yet. That's Pokemon Arceus. The good news is that the reviews for this one hit this morning, and they're pretty green across the board. A lot of outlets are giving this 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Many are claiming that it's the revivification of Pokemon that fans have been waiting for forever, even if it looks like arse. So that's great stuff, but I'm gonna be real with you and say that when it comes to critics and media, I'm very skeptical about their takes on Pokemon. I mean, IGN and GameSpot both gave Pokemon Sword and Shield 9 out of 10. Come on, man, that is crazy. Still, Arceus is looking to be exactly the shakeup I was hoping for when I played Sword and Shield a few years back, so I'm keeping an open mind about this one. Speaking of Pokemon, did you guys see that new trailer for Pal World? Man, check this out. This is that open world Pokemon-like game where you can capture Pokemon and enslave the Pokemon and get the Pokemon to manufacture M4 rifles in a sweatshop, and then you can ride the Pokemon and then mow down other Pokemon with a minigun. This is a real video game, by the way. Maybe. No release date yet. Watch Dogs Legion shipped back in 2019, and it met with a mixed reception. While the game had some interesting ideas that it leaned into, particularly the whole recruit and play as anyone thing, it also just wasn't quite as fun as it should have been. The online mode for the game was delayed and arrived post-launch, promising the sort of co-op shenanigans you can expect to find in any open-world co-op game, all of which was going to be supported by regular content updates. Well, it looks like Ubisoft have run out of runway on this one, with the developers sending out an update this week indicating that their previous title update was the last, and that the existing seasonal content in the game would begin to rotate through on repeat. It's hard to know exactly whether or not Ubisoft had always planned for this. You have to imagine that they would have loved for their online stuff to completely take off, resulting in an endless long tail of microtransaction revenue, but similarly, they could have just planned to step off at this point from the get-go. I think it's fine. Video games don't need to live forever. Ubisoft made a decent game, they updated it a few times, and now they're moving on to other things. fair enough. I do wonder if they're planning a sequel for Watch Dogs. Both Watch Dogs 2 and 3 didn't set the world on fire, so you have to wonder if Ubisoft would be up for round 4, or if they might plan to redirect their resources to more profitable franchises like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed and whatever the hell that NFT bullshit is. One game that we know shat the bed was Battlefield 2042. Yikes. Last week I mentioned that Battlefield 5 had a higher average daily player count than 2042 did, with even hackers abandoning the game since it was dying such a swift death. This player drop-off is too big for EA's bigwigs to ignore, and the rumor is that they're considering some big plays. Freelancer Tom Henderson has a number of sources at DICE, and this week he tweeted, quote, "EA is reportedly very disappointed with how Battlefield 2042 has performed and is looking at all the options when it comes to the title. This is including looking at free-to-play in some capacity," end quote. This is not a surprise. I mean, back when I was previewing the game, I was talking about the fact that asking $60 for this broken, unfinished mess was ridiculous. I mean, hell, even a good competitive shooter would struggle with a premium price tag in today's market, since it's largely gone free-to-play across the board when it comes to competitive shooters. So yeah, free-to-play would help a little, but the biggest issue with Battlefield 2042 isn't the business model, it's pretty much everything else. Setting Battlefield 2042 free-to-play doesn't make it immediately ready to compete with Halo Infinite or Apex Legends or COD Warzone. I mean, it was only this week that 2042 got a scoreboard, for God's sake. The road ahead for 2042's redemption is very long, and I genuinely wonder if EA's leadership team has the stomach for it. I suspect they don't. It's been a long time since we've heard anything about Ghostwire Tokyo, the horror-action hybrid from Bethesda's Tango Works. We still haven't heard anything official, but a release date may have leaked. As reported by mpfirst.com, the PSN listing for the game was briefly updated, listing a March 24th release date. That date has been taken down, but it does line up with previously stated release windows of Northern Spring. Do take this one with a grain of salt though, since I would have expected a little more marketing hype for this one if the release date was this close. One title that did get an official release date was LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, but what should have been a moment of celebration quickly turned sour owing to reporting from Polygon about the crunch currently going on at developer TT Games. So first up, the release date is set for April 5th, and it was revealed in a banging new trailer. This game really does look fantastic. The LEGO games almost always deliver, and it looks like this one is going to be a cut above the rest, so definitely something to look forward to. However, reporting from Jack Yarwood of Polygon certainly tempers that excitement. He spoke to over 30 current and former TT developers, and they paint a sadly familiar picture about the working conditions there, with claims of prolonged crunch made worse by unsympathetic management, some of whom would yell at staff if they tried to leave on time. Things have apparently always been this way at TT Games, but got significantly worse with the Skywalker Saga, since the game is so massive in scope, and because the team recently started using a new engine which was built in-house, and it wasn't finished. Management did this to cut costs so they didn't have to pay any royalties to use Unreal Engine. New studio leadership appears to be helping in some instances but not in others, and it's clear that the TT staff that Polygon spoke to aren't exactly enthusiastic about the future direction of the studio as it continues to double down on more and more LEGO projects. It's a shame that so many games are made this way, especially a game as wholesome as this one. Kinda sucks to know that the enjoyment brought to so many kids comes at the expense of the physical and mental well-being of so many people. That's why reporting like this is important. Hopefully it serves as a wake-up call to management and they can begin to right the ship. While we're on the topic of Star Wars, did you guys hear that Respawn are making 3 Star Wars games and 0 Titanfall games? For real, this is not a joke. This week, EA and Respawn put out a release confirming that Respawn, makers of Apex Legends and Jedi Fallen Order, and a long time ago Titanfall, are working on 3 separate Star Wars projects. The first is a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, the semi-open world Souls-light released a few years back to very strong reviews. Great game, very happy to see this series continue. The second title is the rumored first-person shooter that Respawn have been working on. There have been rumblings about this one for a while now, and everyone was super hopeful that this would be the long-awaited, much pleaded for Titanfall 3. Those hopes were dashed when this blog post confirmed that that game has nothing to do with Titanfall at all and is in fact a Star Wars first-person shooter. Now look, I'm okay with that. I mean, there have been some great Star Wars first-person shooters like Republic Commando and Dark Forces, but you already have a first-person shooter-focused studio who can make this. They're called DICE, and you have precisely one studio who can make Titanfall 3, and they're called Respawn. Couldn't we have arrived at a different allocation of resources here? This is a disappointment for Battlefront fans hoping for a continuation of that series, and a disappointment for Titanfall fans hoping that EA would do something, anything, with one of the greatest shooting franchises of all time. The third Star Wars project isn't exactly a Respawn project. Recently, a bunch of veteran strategy game developers formed a new studio called Relicta. That team is making a new Star Wars strategy game, which, given the experience of the developers, is likely to be something like Star Wars XCOM. Could be pretty cool. They're taking the lead on the development of that one, while Respawn is overseeing the project as producers. So, the future of the Star Wars franchise in the world of video games is very bright, blindingly so maybe. Lego, Respawn, that open world one over at Massive Studios, that other one from Quantic Dream, probably some others that I'm forgetting. We're returning to that golden age when lots of different publishers and developers were making Star Wars games, which has certainly got to be a lot better than EA holding a monopoly on the license and only releasing 2 games in 6 years. Just briefly, Crysis 4 got announced today. That news was first leaked in China before quickly being made official through Crytek's official announcement. All we have right now is a teaser trailer that shows off very little, but hey, it's in development and it won't be out anytime soon, so we all have something to melt our RTX 5090 GPUs with in a few years' time. Finally, and some very big news out of Microsoft. Microsoft Blizzard. Wow, that sounds so weird. This week, Microsoft Blizzard unveiled a new game, sort of. A post on Blizzard's website is titled "Create a New Universe with Us," and it reads, quote, "Blizzard is embarking on our next quest. We are going on a journey to a whole new universe, home to a brand new survival game for PC and console. A place full of heroes we have yet to meet, stories yet to be told, and adventures yet to be lived. A vast realm of possibility waiting to be explored," end quote. The rest of the post is actually a job advert. This may seem like a strange way to reveal a game, but the talent shortage in games right now is so severe that publishers are forced to show their hands far earlier than ever before in the hopes that they can attract talent to their projects. That's one of the reasons that Splinter Cell was revealed recently the way that it was. Obviously, the talent shortage has affected Blizzard way more than most given the state of workplace culture, resulting in many people leaving and fewer people applying. The plans for this reveal would have surely predated the Microsoft acquisition, so it will be interesting to see if Blizzard's hiring troubles persist with the promise of new leadership. As for the game itself, yeah, I'm down for a Blizzard survival game. Blizzard's formula has always been to take niche genres and then smooth them out so they're ready for the mainstream. That's how they had so much success with Warcraft and World of Warcraft and Hearthstone in particular. The survival genre is long overdue for some AAA love. It's still dominated by grindy, frustrating, archaic game design elements that just won't go away no matter how much people complain about them. Valheim showed us a vision of the future of this genre, and in 6 years maybe, perhaps Blizzard will show us another. I personally am looking forward to this one. So, what got announced or delayed this week? Well, first up, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is now available on the Switch. The only downside, you have to pay for that stupid Nintendo Online VIP upgrade thing. It's unclear yet whether this emulated version of the Time Loop Classic suffers the same emulation issues that Ocarina of Time did, but I'm sure we'll start seeing some clips popping up on Twitter if that's the case. So far, so good though. The longer we go on without hearing anything about the upcoming Harry Potter game Hogwarts Legacy, the more we all become convinced that this thing isn't getting released in 2022. Sensing our expecto skepticismo, the developer updated their website with a post reaffirming a 2022 release. Until I see this game in motion, I'm gonna keep my finger firmly on the X to doubt button for this one. People say the biggest news of the week was the Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard, but they are wrong because, ladies and gentlemen, Peppa Pig is coming to next gen. That's right, the bar has been raised with the definitive edition of 2021's Game of the Year. It features 12K 480 FPS visuals. Sony's proprietary Tempest engine has been employed to provide an immersive 3D audio experience during Madame Gazelle's music lessons, and the DualSense's haptic feedback makes you really feel those Daddy Pig snorts like never before. I made all that up, by the way. I just wanted to show off that I know about Peppa Pig stuff, because Peppa Pig rules. Anyway, 2 delay announcements this week. The first is for Dying Light 2. Psych, it's just for the Switch version. Relax everybody, okay, calm down. The Switch version is going to be cloud streamed. It's not running natively on the Switch's antique hardware, and Techland have said that this version could be delayed up to 6 months. They didn't provide any specifics as to why, they just said the standard line about needing to bring it up to player expectations. That's fine, by the way, but it's very late to announce a delay that big. given that this game is out like next week. The other delay was for Ghost Runner DLC titled Project Hell. This was meant to launch in February, but has been delayed to March 3rd, again with the developer saying they needed more time to bring things up to scratch. Fair enough. So what came out last week, aka the review roundup? First up was Drinkbox's Nobody Saves the World. While this one has struggled to get on most people's radars, it certainly hasn't struggled with critics. It's sitting at a strong 80 on OpenCritic, but I think that number is soft, and I'm more like to go with the Steam reviews on this one, which currently have it at around 91% very positive. IGN were a little muted on this one, scoring it a 7 out of 10, saying, quote, "The middle of Nobody Saves the World is a lot of fun, but it's bookended by a slow beginning and final hours that lose steam as the campaign comes to an end," end quote. While I fucking loved it. I gave it a rare please don't skip this thumbnail. A long time since I've done one of those, but I think this one truly deserves it. It's out on Steam, Xbox, and Game Pass right now. Give it a shot. I really don't think you'll be disappointed. Windjammers 2 hit, the classically inspired top-down 2D sports game that looks a lot like Extreme Pong. It too sits at a strong 78 on OpenCritic. It too is faring better on Steam, where it sits at around 90%, mostly positive. It too is available on Game Pass. And if you thought we were getting into a rhythm here, then don't worry, this next one's going to hit very different. Rainbow Six Extraction arrived this week on all platforms, including a Game Pass release. Now, I gotta say, I'm actually really surprised by how this one has landed. Critic scores have this at around 7 out of 10 across the board. That is a very consistent score, by the way, with everyone agreeing that the fundamentals are there because we already had those fundamentals with Siege, but what Extraction adds on top of that may not justify the asking price. I nothinged this game. As I said in my review, I think this was the most bland, forgettable, unemotive game I've played in a long time, and I think many people agree, but many people don't. The inclusion on Game Pass has given people the chance to just try this for themselves, and for some people, it's clicked, and they've enjoyed themselves, particularly when playing with friends. I think it's funny, because a lot of people shit on Ubisoft saying that all their games are just copy and paste jobs, and I'm always the guy that's like, I don't really think that's fair. But this is literally the most copy and paste video game that Ubisoft have ever put out. And I'm like, guys, this sucks. And everyone else is like, oh, I really like this one. Good job, Ubisoft. And I'm just over here, just like, what is going on? Am I going crazy? Anyway, I still don't think this has a shelf life longer than 2 weeks. But don't take my word for it. You can check it out on Game Pass whenever you damn please. Also, I'll leave a link to my review below. So what's coming out this week? Well, it's a quiet week, but there's at least one, maybe two big hitters here. Starting things off, the Artful Escape made its way to PlayStation consoles and Switch on the 25th. This is an audiovisual experience as much as it is a video game, I'm told, but those who have played it absolutely loved it. It was a nominee at the Game Awards for Art Direction, and you can totally see why just looking at this footage. It's only about 4 to 5 hours long, so be sure to go in expecting a short and sharp experience. Sirius Sam is getting a DLC this week. It's called Siberian Mayhem. It's exclusive to PC, of course. It too landed on the 25th. The PC Master Race is, for the first time ever, about to learn what the term ludonarrative dissonance really means, as that lovable rogue Nathan Drake goes around murdering the population of a small country in his quest to steal both some treasure and our hearts. The Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection launches on both PS5 and PC on the 28th, and it combines both Uncharted 4 and Uncharted The Lost Legacy. It also does the whole graphical upgrade thing that you'd expect it to. Uncharted games are always top tier, so if this is your first time through one, you're in for a treat. Though it kind of sucks that you can't go back and play the other three first on PC. You are missing out a lot if you jump straight into 4. And finally, I can't believe it's here. Pokemon Arceus launches this week. We spoke earlier about the hype and excitement for this one. It is very large, just as large as I expect the sales figures to be, since there's no such thing as a bad-selling Pokemon game, even if they are terrible. Will this be terrible? I guess we'll find out when the game releases on the 28th, exclusive to the Switch. I might review it one day. I don't know. We'll see about that. February's already pretty stacked, so it's definitely not going to be anytime soon, but maybe I'll come back to it later. Maybe. Probably not. Maybe. Unlikely. Hey, put this on your radar. This is Leap. Now, this is a self-published title from developer Blue Isle Studios. It's kind of like Tribes back in the day. A big-ass open-plan map with huge amounts of verticality built into each player's movement kit. You get a dash forward on a short cooldown, you get a grapple hook on a very short cooldown, and you can summon a sick-looking hoverboard that you can ride around on and even barrel roll with. There was a playtest running this weekend, and I only got to test the tutorial as servers weren't up when I had time to play. But I was enjoying even the tutorial. It felt so fast and fluid. I loved the movement options, the gunplay felt solid, it ran well, it looked nice. Yeah, I was like, damn, I wish I could play more of this right now. There's a closed beta running at the moment, so you can sign up for that one. I hope this does well. The massive success of Splitgate has shown us that there's still plenty of room for new arena shooters, and the whole tribe segment of the market just hasn't been serviced at all since, well, Tribes. So if this game can do something like that while letting us ride around on a goddamn hoverboard, then it's got some shot at success, surely. No release for this one yet. I'll leave a link to the Steam page below. Sort of free stuff time, and it's a quiet week as we are in the home stretch to February. Epic is doing right by us though. This week you can get your hands on first-person puzzle game Relicta. Got some positive Steam reviews out there, so it could be fun. On the 28th though, you get Daemon X Machina. That's pretty good. This thing still sells for nearly full price on Steam. It's sitting at around 80% mostly positive. It's a very pure mech combat RPG with deep customization and a storyline and cool visuals and the whole package. If you are a weeb or weeb adjacent, chances are you'll probably like this. Game Pass got a minor touch-up this week as we approach the end of the month. You still have the excellent Hitman trilogy on there, as well as the totally not excellent Rainbow Six Extraction. Nobody Saves the World and Windjammers 2 are now live, and joining those hallowed indie ranks is one of the darlings of 2021, Death's Door. This was quite a few people's Game of the Year last year, as its simple but striking visuals, its melancholic storytelling, its strong level design, and its amazing soundtrack propelled it to the front of the indie pack. I reviewed this one, and I definitely recommended it. I didn't love the combat, I felt like that was a little bit flat. Still, this is a great game, and if you are someone that appreciates well-made isometric action games, or Zelda-likes, or just good video games, then you really ought to check this one out. Our feel-good story for the week is a little on the saucy side, so if you prefer your gaming news highbrow, or you have little ones in the room, you may want to step off here. Italy, home of the Colosseum, Ferrari, Mario, and Nintendo lawsuits protecting Mario. No wait, that's Japan. Anyway, Italian lawmakers gathered this week to discuss the important issue of data transparency. But at one point in their meeting, they got a little more transparency than they bargained for. It happened just as Nobel Prize winner Giorgio Parisi was being introduced and welcomed to the live feed. Here's how it went down.
Ai risultati della ricerca medica e scientifica, insieme alla loro repentina accessibilità e alla loro affidabilità.
Yes, sadly, I am forced to censor the good stuff, lest my channel be yeeted from YouTube, but I can assure you that that is Final Fantasy VII's Tifa enjoying someone's Buster Sword. The funny thing is that this just kept going for ages until finally they cut the visual feed, but the audio keeps going. They do eventually get things under control and restore the feed, but to this day we are still not sure if it was hackers that disrupted the stream as is claimed, or if old mate Giorgio Parisi just forgot to close one of his tabs when they cut over to his screen. I like to think it's the latter. Good on you, Giorgio. You have excellent taste. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the week in video games. It was a shorter episode today since we covered off that big Microsoft Activision Blizzard news in a separate video. Link to that below if you missed it. Thank you always for stopping by, and if you want to help your boy out, you could, smack the like button, hit the subscribe button if it's still red, and ding that notification bell so you'll know when the next video is live. I can tell you right now, I am reviewing Dying Light 2 as we speak. And after that comes Sifu, and Horizon Forbidden West, and Elden Ring, and heaps of other shit. It is an insane month. You don't want to miss it. I won't be sleeping. Please, pray for me. I'll see you guys later. Have you ever thought about making a website? If you answered no, then that's a lie, because when I asked, have you ever thought about making a website, you would have been thinking about making a website. See? Gotcha. Okay, so Squarespace helps you build websites, really good ones, really easily. Squarespace have templates ready to go for whatever you need, from blogs to personal portfolios to online stores to weddings and more. And once you've chosen a starting point, you can begin customizing it in minutes. Want to change the color? Boom, done. How about the layout? Boom, easy mode. And like magic, when you've designed your perfect looking website for desktop, it automatically converts into a perfect looking website for mobile. No additional work required, it's just there, ready to go. Squarespace really is that easy, and if you're looking to get a website for any reason, be it personal or professional, then there's no better place to do that than Squarespace. As I mentioned earlier, Squarespace have re-signed the channel for another 12 months. I really appreciate that support, that's amazing. Squarespace are helping me turn my passion into a career, and that's what they do for a lot of people, because if you want to turn your passion into a career, then a website is a really good place to start. To get started, visit squarespace.com, and if you want to get serious, visit squarespace.com/skillup to get 10% off your purchase of a website or a domain name. Thanks Squarespace for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.